Hey, welcome back. So, it's the first WoW news of the new year, and this one's got it all. I've got for you drama, our next patch, what to expect after that, and a few hours of top-notch Warcraft goodness that you can download and play. First though, come on, gotta do the drama. Do you have a spare 2.1 million gold? If you do, fantastic, Blizzard has loot for you. If you don't, well, you've got until August because this is not any regular gold sink, it's a time-limited one. So here's the deal. Madame Goya, who runs the black market auction house, has had her assistant open a new shop. And rather than being auction house style, it's a regular vendor selling a wide range of items that might look familiar if you've done the trading post this month, because most of them are gold recolors of this month's trading post items, and they will be leaving that vendor in August and then going into the black market auction house. Now, the idea of a gold sink, yeah, that's fine. A FOMO one, that's less fine, and here's why. People feel that this will be pressing them into buying a WoW token, or realistically, a few. So here's a pricing table in gold. Let's convert that to dollars at a rate of currently 242,000 gold per token, which is about 12,100 gold for a single dollar. So what does that mean? Well, 171.5 bucks for the lot, 99 for the mount, 16.5 for the arsenal, and a few bucks each for everything else. The question then is, how many people will actually just go mad on WoW Token and buy all this stuff? I would say probably not that many people, but the bit that matters here is if people feel like this is the ask or the hope or a pressure from Blizzard, well, given that it's a pay-to-play MMO with a full box price, sub fee and all of that, it ain't gonna feel good. People would say, why do the FOMO if not for WoW Token? And I'd say it's pretty simple. More engagement. If something has a period of time-limited guaranteed access but eventually will go in the black market auction house, then the perceived value of buying the immediate purchase goes up, and that helps Blizzard remove gold from the in-game economy and perhaps sell a few tokens, because remember, each WoW token carries a $5 premium versus the regular sub fee, even more versus, of course, the per month price of a sub if someone's on the 6-month bundle. So the business case is pretty clear. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if this is just a thing a designer did, because it's the way that they thought it should work or that it makes sense. But look, the facts are, the second you open the door to selling gold via a legitimate source where you earn commission off that, you earn money, as Blizzard does, then you invite all of this criticism, and obviously there's the member of the Brutosaur. Now the Brutosaur, that was far worse. It was time limited. It had auction house functionality, and that meant that those who could justify to themselves a ludicrous WoW token spend, they could essentially buy like instant lifetime auction house access, which is a lot handier than running from the auction house to the mailbox in a city. Beyond that though, I think there's a bit of worry here of some more trading post crossover. Nobody really wants this to be like a real money extension of the trading post, I suppose, other than Blizz's bean counters. And of course, the online reaction to this was stark and negative, just like, of course, using the net without today's sponsor. Okay, let's save money, access more content, and be more secure using nordvpn.com/Bellular Gaming. At that link, you'll get their Christmas deal, where you'll have 4 months for free with a 2-year plan and their 30-day money-back guarantee. Now, Nord lets you browse the web from anywhere using their secure servers, and you can do a hell of a lot with that. Most recently for me, well, let's just say this. Ticket prices around the world are optimized based on regional demand, currencies, national wealth, all that jazz. But if you clear your cookies on your internet browser and then you use NordVPN and you connect to a server in another country, you can start to shop around those regional price differences. I've done this for my recent trip to the USA for BlizzCon as an example, and by doing that, you can pretty damn easily save more than the cost of the VPN itself. Of course, while I was away, it was also very handy just being able to VPN back home for things, and of course, they keep you private. They stop your ISP from snooping on your traffic. They've got their fantastic threat protection service that gives you handy warnings if bad things do happen, and new features like MeshNet. It's all in their app and their browser extension that are super easy to use, and you get 4 bonus months for free with a 2-year plan at my link down below, which is nordvpn.com/Bellular Gaming. And of course, if you're checking out Nord, be sure to do so using my link to support our team. And with that said, let's roll. Then a final bit of drama. Blizzard have tried to do something that I think they think is cool, and in many ways it genuinely is. Thing is though, it's kind of running into a bit of an issue. Essentially, they're doing a build your own tier for the sort of greatest hits season of Dragonflight. So that's when we'll be going and doing the original 3 raids. They'll probably throw in some modifiers, you know, upscale the loot, do a bunch of stuff. But the idea here is that users will be voting on what visuals they want and then what tier set bonuses they want for each spec. So in a way, that's cool, the best of everything. But people then say, hang on a second, there's no benefit to this. Why don't you just let us, you know, go and collect all of the tier? So I suppose the question is, why the hell are they doing it this way? There's a few different things. I mean, maybe they just think it's kind of cool and exciting. Maybe it's that they don't want to scale every single tier set bonus up to, you know, like whatever the higher item levels are of this new season, and then have to balance all of them. Because the last time they did this, the Fated season of Shadowlands, of course, there was only one tier set bonus. It was the Zereth Mortis one. Whereas now there's 3. So maybe they're just trying to manage that. I don't know. Given the strong feedback, I've got to imagine they'll do a blue post on this one fairly soon. I mean, they'll need to, because patch 10.2.6 is going to be on the PTR pretty much any day now. And the reason why is 10.2.5, and that's our next bit of news. So, World of Warcraft's next patch drops in just a few days. Blizzard are, therefore, doing some feature previews of the patch content. First up, follower dungeons, which are for the 8 original Dragonflight dungeons, not the other stuff, which is kind of unfortunate. I suppose they're just starting here. There's some new UI for all this stuff. The NPCs, they'll do nice things like give you buffs, put down mage tables, and most interesting of all, there's basically a go button for your tank-ish. An extra action button lets you select if the NPC tank or you leads the party, which I think's kind of neat. And of course, if this experiment goes well, and especially thinking about things like warbands, I don't know, who knows what it could yield. I mean, maybe Blizzard would actually feel okay putting proper, like, narrative content set pieces within dungeons. And I mean, of course, they just do a slightly different version for Mythic Plus. Anyway, then they've shown off more of the Azerothian archives. There's loads of Explorer-style transmogs to earn, of course, pets, mounts, all of that stuff. But I think what I'm most interested in is how this clearly seems like a test for what archaeology is going to turn into. So, here's the TLDR of it. This is an event in Trader's Rest in Azure Span. It's an event that fires off, and it's got solo and group activities. Essentially imagine time rifts, but not combat-based. So like with the rifts, there's also a weekly quest that will give you big boost of resources, and you can move those resources between your characters, and that weekly is account-wide. Now when the event's up, there are things to do in the area. There's some of those solo tasks, and those solo tasks just feel like little archaeology mini-game tests. It's things like scrying artifacts, excavations with a bar balancing mini-game via a shaman elemental, and helping out some arcane familiars. Big picture to me though, it seems pretty neat. And when you actually think about what it's called Azerothian Archives, but, I mean, this is just one dig site. This looks like just a dig site. So is this a template of what future archaeology is? You could imagine one dig site having its event, and then when you do that event, you know, you're getting unique elements, maybe even some gameplay mechanics for that dig site, some lore for that dig site, and then, maybe when it ends in one dig site, it starts in another dig site. That could be pretty neat. And if Blizzard wanted to unearth some, fun archaeological secrets, do some fun lore, and tie that back to some of our original zones, they could do that with an archaeology revamp. So I think that across Azeroth would be bloody amazing, and a big step up over the Cataclysm-style triangulation sites. There is more to the patch though, so there are Dragon Isle epilogue quests that will hopefully lay this expansion to rest and set up the future. According to the patch notes, it's a small enough chain with the aspects, and after it, you will unlock a bunch of stay a while and listen conversations over in Valdrakken. Blizz tends to do foreshadowing in those stay a while and listen conversations. I mean, as an example, the last stay a while and listen, or one of them anyway, with Illyria Windrunner, had her talking about how when N'Zoth was defeated, she actually started to hear more and new voices from the Void. So that was a pretty clear bit of hinting that, I think quite obviously, will come true, or at least be relevant in The War Within. So basically, expect me to do some lore speculation. Then of course we've got the reclaiming of Gilneas, which thankfully has not been tested on PTR, meaning there are not plot spoilers. Well, there's a few, but not core A plot spoilers. Also, Belameth, the new Night Elf city, has a little bit more construction having went on, and around there you can unlock a host of classic Night Elf looking cosmetics. There's also worldwide dragon riding, the Outland Cup, and a few other things. Okay, so that's the new patch coming out in just a few days, 16th for America and the 17th for EU. And with that, expect 10.2.6 to hit the public test realm very, very soon. And with that said, that's pretty much Seeds of Renewal. Overall, it's not the biggest patch in the world, and look, if all you give a shit about is raiding a Mythic Plus, yeah, you're not really going to care. Gilneas, I'm kind of excited for that. As a fan of like this IP, this franchise, the lore, I'm excited to see what's going on there. But overall, yeah, 10.2.6 and 10.2.7 are likely going to be a bit more substantial, not the least because 10.2.6 is probably going to happen the week before the season starts, because usually they do the patch and then a week later the season begins. 10.2.6, of course, is extra exciting because we have absolutely no idea what it will contain beyond that there's going to be some pirate stuff. Now, who knows what that's going to mean? Will that mean, say, pirates are invading the raids and the dungeons? So yes, while the Mythic Plus season is the original Dragonflight dungeons, maybe there'll be pirate shit. Maybe the pirates will be in our raids somehow. Perhaps the Night Squall and his pirate band want to plunder artifacts. I don't know. But anyway, that's the next thing on the horizon. With this patch leaving the PTR is now open for 10.2.6, and because there's pretty much something every 8 weeks, as soon as there's some free PTR space, they usually ram the next thing in there pretty damn quick. So we'll probably see quite a bit of news within the next fortnight. But that's not all that's exciting. I really hope you watched yesterday's lore video that we did on Xal'atath being in Season of Discovery, because it's not just that there's a shadowy figure, there's, you know, the whole rest of that quest chain and the stuff with the big light like crystal thing. It's totally worth checking out. And the reason why is because, number one, that video is a banger, and number two, the WoW team have assured us that the Season of Discovery lore is canon. They've described it as found photos, things that I suppose we didn't see when we did Classic, but canonically happened. I know some purists may be a little bit not happy with that, but so far, honestly, I think it's been tasteful. I think the lore has actually been really cool and just really enjoyable. It truly is putting the Discovery in Season of Discovery, and it's also tying into the overall canon of Warcraft in a way that I think is really pleasing. And with that, Season 2 will be coming up soon. It's going to take us to level 40, there'll be a Stranglethorn Vale PvP event, new runes, and a Gnomeregan raid. Of course, what I'm really thinking about is whenever we get to, say, the Karazhan Crypt raid that they've been teasing, like, what the hell will we find there? Karazhan, of course, canonically, there's basically ley lines up the wazoo in that place. There's, you know, it's the reason why, like, Egwene sort of did stuff there. All very spooky, all a lot of potential. Now, as for the Gnomeregan raid, it does kind of have my lore brain tickling a little bit, and the reason why is, do you remember seeing all of the King Mechagon stuff in Time Rifts? And I think that was basically like the vision of a future where kind of like, you know, so I think some order stuff like sort of takes control. I forget exactly, I'm ad-libbing, I don't have a script for this, but that stuff was kind of highlighted by Blizz recently. Gnomeregan, what is that? Gnomes, technology, what are gnomes? Gnomes are essentially like the fleshy curse of flesh descendants of the little like techno gnomes that were basically used like sort of Titan forged little, I don't know, robot problem solving dudes made by Mimeron. So I think there could be some stuff there. And as well with all of those new runes, with how any of the extra gearing works and any quests tied to that, honestly, it's just an it's an amazing thing for the world building. It's been a delight so far. And while I'm on the topic of Classic, yeah, Ruby Sanctum is open in Wrath, and that's pretty much it for Wrath. Now, next, I've got something you really need to check out. Warcraft 2 is honestly, it's metal as fuck. It's really good, but it's an old game. It's kind of hard to get into. And that's why today you can play some high-quality Warcraft in a way that has never been seen before. That sounds like an insane sell, but it's not. And that's because Chronicles of the Second War's first installment is out. This is a fan-made, completely mammoth remaster of Warcraft 2 within Warcraft 3 Reforged. It is done by the team at Lorecraft Designs. Now, this release covers the Horde campaign, and honestly, their work is absolutely cracked. It is mad. It is exactly, I mean, look, it's showing up Blizzard. This is what War 3 Reforged should have been. I mean, let's take a look, right? And keep in mind, there's a core team of 7 people plus contributors here. And I mean, what the hell? Like, just look at the visuals of the trailer. Again, this is like stuff being done in the Warcraft 3 engine. They have got full voice acting for all the units, all the dialogues, and on that, they have brought the lore up to modern, trying to leave out the more, you know, iffy bits. Basically, modernizing it, having a more full script that will actually play well to a current Warcraft fan. They filled in the gaps where it makes sense, and the whole thing's voice acted. There are cutscenes for the missions, in-game cinematics. They've made hundreds of unique models covering like the orcs, the humans, the dwarves, high elves. It is an absolutely insane amount of work. I mean, yeah, it's just incredible. Warcraft 2 itself really does rock. Like, you've got Illyria, Turalyon, of course, Beyond the Dark Portal being the expansion for Warcraft 2. It established so much of what Warcraft would go on to be. I mean, take Sargeras. Sargeras is from the Warcraft 2 manual, in the same way that Elune is from the Warcraft 3 manual. And funny enough, Warcraft 2 is really where Chris Metzen gets way more involved as Warcraft as a thing. So really, this is like a big origin point for so much of the Warcraft that we know today, and that's why you owe it to yourself to check it out. I mean, what a labor of love. Just amazing. Next, though, let's talk about live. Okay, Farak on Normal and Heroic have now got a reduced Dispel requirement. Basically, the Flame Dispel, that's just cast less for each Burning Presence wave. This is a pretty big buff for smaller groups, really good for pugs, and for those who want to do lightning fast re-clears by, like, dropping a healer or two, versus what they would be doing with progression. There's that, a few other things were tuned down, and honestly, I get why they did that with the Dispels. I was kind of bummed out because this did happen mid-progress for my guild. I mean, we've killed Farak now. I actually do think Farak's a really, really fun fight that overall is in a maybe somewhat slightly too easy, but really terrific raid. Anyway, that's what's happened with him. But sticking with Farak, his legendary axe has been buffed again, but Theorycrafter Mandel, writing for Wowhead, well, I think the quote from him is pretty much ideal. While this sounds like a significant buff, it barely moves the needle on where the legendary is still the weakest. And that really is, it's a big oof. It's a big ouch. Legendaries like this should be exciting, and Firalath has unfortunately missed the mark. Now, to clue you in, Blizzard buffed the AoE damage of this by increasing the cap of its stacking effect from 5 to 50. Now, the problem with the old cap of 5 stacks is that using it on anything beyond 5 targets was a DPS loss. That cap increasing to 50 means that the damage can reach a max of 500%, and that would be great if it was useful. I mean, if you're perhaps clearing a dungeon with really big pools, like a dungeon you way over gear, sure, kinda useful. But if you're progressing in Raid, if you're trying to push some keys in Mythic Plus, you don't really have the opportunity to use like this buff enough for this to be a true benefit. And it's made worse by how it really does appear that most strength melee specs are in the bottom half of the weekly raid charts, have been for ages. It feels almost as if they are tuned for this legendary, which itself is underperforming. And then you've got the bad luck protection, which is a step up from Aberrus. You know those little Firalath Ember things you get in your bags when you kill Farak? But the thing is, there's really no transparency in how that thing works at all. And it just leads to the whole thing not being a great experience. Really, I think for me, the TLDR here is that Firalath is a really cool transmog to pick up. It's a cool looking axe, but it does seem to be a misfire in both its tuning and its acquisition. Now, with this and Najuro, it has been pretty cool that you do that, the quest chain, there's a little bit of lore, it's kind of a cool, fantasy moment for your character. I think they should really double down on that, and, with sort of content, lore, that kind of thing, making these feel really special. Sort of doing similar with their effects, getting the tuning right, obviously, but perhaps the way that these are acquired does need to be looked at, because they've tried to do it via primarily random drops. I mean, perhaps trying to echo the excitement of, like Illidan's Warglaves dropping or something, but with how the modern game is played, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to have delighted and surprised players in a positive way, which ultimately is what we want. And with that said, do you want stuff? Here's some stuff. First up, the 12-month Trading Post achievement, which is earned for filling your log 12 times in total, gives you 500 tender in addition to those pretty damn cool-looking Warden-themed transmogs. This is great. Hey Blizzard, if you want to win, right, start putting Trader's Tender on more achievements. I mean, achievements, they're cool to get. People only really care about achievements if they, actually give them something. But maybe if you do like certain amount of achievement points, which would probably run into pitfalls, let's be real. So many people have just already got a large amount of, achievement points. So if they were to have it be like achievement point brackets getting you tender, then loads of people would just get like thousands of tender, and it would be a bit messy. Probably not that, but maybe just more achievements, maybe those zone meta achievements, right? Like the ones for doing everything in the Emerald Dream. Maybe those should have some tender. I don't know. It does seem like tender on achievements would make a lot of sense and would appeal to the sort of player who could potentially be engaged by achievement hunting. The next thing then is something that most forgot with the Great Vault's Pity Vendor. I definitely recommend you check it out. Basically, you can buy half sparks for 6 tokens of merit, and do remember, for every option that you unlock in the vault, you get 2 tokens up to a maximum of 6. And that's actually a bit more useful than, I think, previous for more people's characters, because actually heroic and time-walking dungeons do count. So if you're knocking out some time-walking dungeons for the sake of, say, completing that weekly quest in one of your alts, that'll get you a great vault. Next on mounts, the Lunar New Year mount is here. Honestly, this thing looks great. If you've got a 12-month sub, you'll have it right now. If you've got a 6-month sub, you'll get it January 23rd, and it's $19 otherwise. Now look, on this, I usually savage them on the 6-month sub things, because to me, when that started happening in BFA, it was almost this idea that, like, they get you really hyped in patch day, they get somebody to buy a 6-month sub so they get the mount, and then, realistically, Blizzard's content pipeline for WoW was pretty shit for a while, and that just meant, well, people, maybe half of those months that they already paid for, they wouldn't be playing, and that didn't really feel great. I would say, in fairness to Blizzard now, we are actually getting a lot more stuff. I mean, there's pretty much a patch every 8 weeks, and they've kept that up since the launch of Dragonflight, and it does seem to be continuing right through War Within. So that's kind of my take on that, and also there's a pet along with this. I don't know, honestly, in the grand scheme of subscription MMO things, I think this incentive is far from the worst, though. Look, it is a shame that such a beautiful looking mount is not earned in-game, because if it's earned in-game, then I think there's a story behind it, You're doing it with your character, it's a great opportunity for world building, makes the game better, but, business is business, and speaking of business, Mr. Bezos has got the Swift Windsteed store mount on Prime Gaming right now, and the Grim Campfire toy on the release of 10.2.5. A weird thing, I suppose we all jump through a hoop, we click on a thing on Amazon, we get a thing in World of Warcraft, usually something Blizzard probably doesn't really care about and doesn't plan to sell, and I guess everybody involved gets to claim they have a monthly active user? I'm sure that's all built on rock solid, very happy economics. Anyway, that's us for today. Hey, if you want to check out a video after this, honestly, the Xal'atath Season of Discovery one, it's a total banger. Check it out next. That's it from me. Thank you for watching. I'm so happy to be back for 2024. We've got a lot of awesome things planned. And yeah, I'll see you over in Xal'atath. Goodbye.